Hey all, Board Game Answer. We'll find everything solo tabletop gaming and more. And today we're going to discuss the Lost Ruins of Arnak from a solo perspective. Of course, a little bit on the game, what it's about, and I'll let you know what I'm thinking on the other side. So the Lost Ruins of Arnak, beautiful game here, kind of top to bottom, very long. You know, you got to have go gadget arms to get those guys up there, but let's just take it all in here. This is the main game board. This is where you're going to do your adventuring. This is a worker placement deck building game, and you discovered this island of Arnak, and I guess you're treasure hunting. You go out and you, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know, the movie. This is the board game version of it, and that's the main board. Over here is my player area. Over here is the AI player area. And it consists of 5 rounds, and then you score. And if you beat the AI by points, you win. Lots of different levels you can play. Lots of different things you can do with this game. The base game is, of course, what comes in the box. But there's lots of online stuff that you can download, that you can utilize to enhance your solo experience. And that's very important, I think, for this game. But there's a ton of it, and I'll get to that in a second. So what are you doing in this game? Well, the deck building game. So of course you're gonna draw some cards. Those cards are gonna let you do certain things. You're gonna do things like this main area of the board right here. You're going to be, first you got to kind of discover these areas are discovered. So if I played a card that allowed me to go here, I'd put my little worker there, and you only get 2 each round, so you got to be careful. But I put this little guy right there, I get two money resources, and you know, these are discovered sites. Over here, these are level 1 undiscovered sites, and then up there you've got 4 areas for level 2 undiscovered sites, which are, you get better stuff, as you can imagine, but it's tougher to discover those sites. But ultimately what you do is you'll end up sending a worker. There's little location costs that are on your card, and your cards will have more or less 2 different things you can utilize. We'll have this location. You can use it as a location to get somewhere. So if I wanted to get to, you know, this little area that takes a vehicle, I'd have to spend a card that has a vehicle on it, but I'd sacrifice whatever's in the middle of the card there. And that goes for all these cards that you can actually purchase out here. You got your items that cost money. You got your those things that cost I can't remember, the artifacts that cost time, basically on the bottom left. That's how much it costs. So two compass tokens, or 2 money, 3 money, etc. And then all the cards too that you purchase are worth victory points on the bottom right there. So, and then in the center you got some beautiful art, and you've got the actions that it'll do. But also on the top left of all these cards, you'll notice there's a little travel icon, and those travel icons, so you're going to use the card kind of for its travel or for its action, and that travel is what allows you to get your archaeologists out that far. And of course, as you get out into these level 2 areas, it costs more travel icons to get out there, and more of those compass tokens too, to discover things. So that's a big part of the game, is discovering these tiles. And what you'll do is, like if I went there, I'd get this level 1 tile. There's a level 2 tile there too, but this level 1 we get flipped over. I'd get the benefit of this little idle token, it's called, and then I'd get some benefits that are on the tile there. Very straightforward, but there's always a guardian that comes out too, and these things tend to generate fear. And fear is kind of just, there's a stack in the top center there, and that's just a stack of all the same fear cards. As you can imagine, you don't want them for the most part. They're bad, they clutter up your deck, and they're worth -1 victory point at the end of the game. So over the course of the game, you're going to be unlocking these different sites to be able to go to, and therefore there'll be different things that you can get other than these basic things that you start with. The AI will also unlock areas out there. The other main part of the game is this research track. So you'll be going up this track, paying the certain costs, and as you go up, you're going to get benefits based on if you've moved your little hourglass or if you've moved your book. And there's some rules there. You always got to move your hourglass. Always has to be higher or equal to than your book. So you're never going to have your book go past, beat your hourglass there. But as you go up each level, there are benefits that you get on the right hand side based on which token you moved. The costs are outlined here, and you got to kind of follow the tracks. So if you go this way, you know, it kind of you gotta just make sure you're connected to the next level, and you have to pay the appropriate costs. And as you go up, of course, you get better and better stuff. And then at the top of the temple there, you get the big victory points there. And so the temple is another action you'll be working and getting up along with discovering these. And once you discover them, you dig at them. Basically, once they're discovered, then you can just go and get the goods that you revealed. And then, of course, the other thing you can do is go up and you can purchase cards. And that is, you know, pretty, I mean, it's pretty much, oh yeah, you can overcome these guardians too as another action. You know, when you have your guy there, you can overcome these by paying their costs. Here you'd need to pay a travel cost of an airplane and this little Bluetooth thing, and then you'd overcome this guardian. You get a little benefit, and it's going to be worth 5 points at the end of the game for you. So that's another action that you'll be taking. But you'll be playing as many actions as you can with your hand of cards. You always draw 5 at the beginning of each round. Again, there's 5 rounds, and you'll go through and on your turn, you'll do everything I just said. Dig at a site, discover a new site, overcome a guardian, buy an item, buy an artifact, play a card, research, and then eventually you'll have to pass. And then you can take any number of free actions too during your turn that have a little lightning bolt symbol. You'll get these little idle things as you go out and you discover new sites. They're going to be worth 3 points for you. Then you can use them to unlock these little goodies here. You can get assistance. These little assistants can come in handy. You get assistance as you move up on the research track, and then you can activate them, you exhaust them, and you get their goodies. You can level up your assistants and get more goodies. So lots of cool little things going on, and ultimately you'll play this AI, and the AI runs super easy. It comes with a big chunk of tiles, but I always use the app. The app is really the way to go. It will go over all of the add-ons that you can go online and you can read about. And you've got that right here. You've got these Arnak solo mini expansions, which you can go online and find and get all these extra goodies. It basically increases the level of difficulty, and also you can add in this little rival objectives. Kind of gives you a race. Each round the objectives are different, and if you don't complete the objectives before the AI gets extra points. So it's basically it enhances the whole solo experience. And you can print all these cards if you want, which I did, but then the app is just so much easier to use. You might as well just use the app. And then also too, in the same area where you would be getting these bonus solo mini expansions, there is an entire campaign, 4 chapters. Very thematic, very fun, very cool. Again, all solo oriented. You also you can flip this main board over. Right here you have, this is the bird temple. See that big bird right there? You flip this board over and there's a snake temple, and that board looks basically the same, except for the temple is a little different, a little more involved, and also too the cost to go out and discover sites and utilize the sites is a little different, a little bit more involved. So there's a different board you can play on. You can choose to play with these extra goodies solo. You can choose to play campaign solo, very thematic. Lots of options. Beautiful game. Let's go and talk a little bit more what I'm thinking about Lost Ruins of Arnak. I don't know that can be said enough. This game is glorious looking. It's one of the best looking games I've probably ever played, certainly this year. But I'm just kind of into that sort of thing, that cool adventure-y looking illustration stuff. I even like the names and the titles of all the stuff. Does it play as well as it looks for me? Let's get a little into that. But I guess the bottom line is, I would say pretty darn close. Setup and teardown. So when you take this out of the box, you're going to be I don't know, probably a good 10 plus minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, I think. But in between games, you are about 5 minutes if you're just playing the generic solo game, especially with the app. Well, I mean, it wouldn't be that hard even without the app, but yeah, 5 minutes really to reset. So that's pretty impressive for just all the pieces and stuff there. You would think it would take longer, but no, it's not bad. It does sprawl across the table. You're gonna unless you move stuff around, I don't even know if that full length board would fit. It might be longer than, I think it's longer than 3 feet. I'm not sure though. So yeah, if you play this on a coffee table, 3x3, you're gonna have to. It's gonna take up the whole thing basically, in more or less. Fit a couple drinks on there probably, but so it takes up a good chunk of table space. The length of play though is, once you're in it, half hour, 45 minutes, really pretty darn quick. And because you only have 5 rounds, and the first couple go relatively quickly until you get your engine kind of going. And so, very reasonable gameplay, and it's a lot. You're doing a lot in that small amount of time. So that is a very positive thing. The components, for what I paid this guy, I think it's like $50 for this gloriously delicious looking game. I felt it was incredible value. It really was. And the cards themselves were the only things that I guess that I really didn't care. Even the little player aids are super flimsy, but the cards, you get fingernail flick on some of those. I noticed with the fear cards, there's a couple that have a little. I mean, you can just see the white, around the edges, and so card quality not so great, but yeah, you just leave them, of course, and that'll fix that. But aside from that, the big chunky gems and the tablets and the little Bluetooths and the stuff is, and that nice thick tiles that represent the adventure sites, and very just great component value here across the board for me. Thematically, this has got all the vibe to it. Even though it's a deck building worker placement game, everything just looks, you're putting your adventure, your archaeologist out there, and and you're exploring, and you're pulling out tablets and gems but generating a little fear, and it all works so well from a thematic standpoint, especially when you get into the campaign. The campaign, which I've only played, so I've played this game over 10 times now. And I've only played the campaign, the first story, twice. And I finally won on the second time, I think. Is that right? I think so. I haven't even tried this second chapter, and there's 4 chapters. But that first chapter was just, you get into the story. It's all on that. It's all web based, and it was just, there's this. I don't want to ruin it, but I mean, once you read through and you set it up, you got this airplane that covers up. There's the setup changes the board and changes how it kind of works a little bit. You got little story markers now that you got to collect, and you've got, like I said, this airplane to explore that's covering up a spot, but you got to, this wrecked plane, and there's a certain guardian that you're going for, and the wind conditions are, it's extremely thematic, and it's really easy to get into. So that's, for most games that sometimes just have a pasted on theme, especially with this campaign and the story that goes with it and the way it's set up, extremely well done. The rulebook is fine. I think it explains. This is not a very difficult game to learn. It's I would say for me it feels like a medium, but kind of on the lighter side of medium, and very accessible for most any player. And I played this one time multiplayer, extremely easy to learn or to teach. I already knew it. Extremely easy to teach, and it wasn't difficult to learn from that basis. And it was kind of genuinely one of the games. I feel like a lot of rule books now are almost a little dependent on a YouTube video showing you how to play the game, and this one I don't think needed it. This has got a nice straightforward rule book. The solo rules were extremely easy. The way the solo, which I'll get into, was implemented is very just a little too straightforward. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But rulebook, perfectly fine. I don't remember having to look up hardly any FAQ on this game. The mechanics are just, they just blend so evenly well together. You've got a cool deck building idea where as you purchase a card, there's two different things that can happen. If you purchase an item, it goes under your existing deck. So you're probably going to get it next round. But if you buy an artifact, you immediately get to use it, but it goes kind of in your discard area or played area, and you get to use it for free. And so the deck building has some cool little features to it that make it unique. And then the worker placement, you've only got 2 workers, but there's some things that can allow you to manipulate that a little bit, maybe move stuff around. But so the worker placement is it's not like hot and heavy. I bet you with multiplayer, there's suddenly so many things open up that's kind of like, oh, well, I guess I can't go there. So you don't feel like you get like cut out of an area. I didn't really feel like that happened very much. Even when I was playing the AI, it's sort of like, it's pretty easy to work around. But so the worker placement was very functional, but it didn't have like I better get there first feeling all that often. But it worked in conjunction with the deck building extremely well, because there were some cool decisions that you have to make there when you're playing the AI with sort of its advanced variation, which I'll chat about here in a second. The solo, the biggest issue I would have had with the solo variant as it came in the box was it was a little too simplistic. You get 10 tiles. There's some varying difficulties, but I was already able to beat it on its highest difficulty pretty quick, because it just gets the same actions every round, 5 rounds in a different order, which I think was really limited my enjoyability of the solo, and it still does to a certain extent. However, the designers or whoever put out some online material to basically up it more than ups the increase difficulty level. The AI, you play it on its hardest difficulties across the board, it slaughters you. So I guess that's, something. But really I found that for me, so it gave you 2 alternatives to add difficulty to the solo. And that is to increase difficulty in the same tiles. So now there's 3 levels of difficulties. There was kind of an easy and a hard, and then you mixed and matched among the 5 tiles. Anyway, you could really suit it to taste, but really on the hardest level out of the box, it was too easy. Now I found that my sweet spot is what it's done is it's added objectives. So that was the biggest, neatest feature that the online material added, was this idea of objectives. And it gives you because the AI just puts out the same 10 actions 5 rounds in a row, just in a different order, it really, it's like if there was a card out there that I wanted to buy, and I know how, it always just takes the highest level victory point, and it's just kind of, I know it's not going to get that one, so I don't need to rush to get that. But the objectives added sort of this, okay, if you're not the first to buy a card this round, the AI is going to get points. If you're not the first to buy an artifact, if you're not the first to discover a site, if you're not so now, even though it just comes out completely random, it mattered more and spiced up the game quite a bit and gave it a few more extra points. Sometimes it's just you wanted something else so bad and you'd go for it, but then the AI would take the action, would give it the extra points because it beat you to that objective that particular round. And that's almost just what I needed. The thing that it's really missing is that I wish it wasn't just the same 10 tiles. It's just going to be the same 10 every time. It's like a player just doesn't get the same 10 actions every round, and so it doesn't feel like you're really playing an opponent so much as it feels very robotic. I wish they had maybe, instead started the game with less tiles and you added a random one at the end of each round to kind of, now you really don't know what the AI is going to do. And that would have, like there's a lot of games that do this to some extent, but like Gaia Project, one of my favorite solo games of all time, would do that. The AI started off with a little deck. At the end of the round, though, it got a random action that you added in there, and it was like, what's it? It's just, it was, it really messed with you because it would pop out and you'd be like, dang it. But then now that that's part of its action every round. So that is what's missing in the solo variant for me. That aside, it's a magnificent game through and through. And I thought the solo as it came in the box was lacking in difficulty and in that variation. It needed the objectives. It needed a boost in difficulty, and I think that was great that they added that online just for us solo players. I'm very thankful for that. Then they went so far as, created a campaign, a full campaign, 4 chapters, which I've only played the first one. And if the other chapters are as good as that, this game is fantastic. I enjoy this game tremendously. I would play a game over 10 times if I didn't enjoy it. So, and all the, I mean, you can alter the difficulty levels by, 2-3 degrees at a time. I mean, there's just, because you can swap this tile out for this one, but take the lower level of that one, but then, and so you can really suit the game. Now they've they've made it so difficult, it just blows you out of the water if you try it on maximum difficulty with all the things ratcheted up. So you can go that route, but you'll find that sweet spot somewhere in there, which creates a good level of replayability with the cards. There's enough. I do hope that maybe in the future we're going to come out with some more artifacts and some more items and stuff, and maybe some more, just a little booster pack that sort of adds to the variety. After 10 plays, you've kind of seen it all, but it still, comes out. There's enough to create a good replayability, even with what comes in the box. So still plenty of plays left in this one. Fun as all get out. That's my take on Lost Ruins of Arnak. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those down below. If this video helped in any way, shape, or form, I'd love it if you just give that little like button a little boop there. That helps shoot it out into the YouTube algorithm universe and gets to more people, which helps the channel, but also helps people know more about this game from the solo perspective. And it is a worthy solo game for sure. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, I'm Board Game Rants, and I'm out.